in terms of their personal development and their hockey development as well. So somebody put something in 2002. Who was that? Type that in, Sam. Sammy, was that?
That was me. I was just going to attest to how great the evaluations were, Wally, I would say in my 98, 99, 2000, 2001 era, 2002. I really felt like I could voice my opinion in a safe space, which I think as an athlete is really, really important. And I felt like my concerns were heard, albeit not always changed, but heard and, talked about. And I didn't feel that way after that. I felt like the evaluations turned into, and I'm not actually even sure. I don't remember exactly what the evaluations were. Maybe Tim, you can voice in on that. But I felt like then the evaluations became, if I was to put anything negative on there, it was used against me. And it wasn't. That wasn't the. It wasn't a. Didn't seem like we were on equal footing at that point.
Are we talking 2002 or 2006? I mean, was it different? I missed that, sort of.
Yeah, so I would say that from 98 to 2002, so those 4 years, were the evaluations were pretty often. Like after every tournament, we would get evaluations even on the plane ride home to be able to fill out like everything from how was the food to what would you change to how did you feel. But then I never felt like that was the way after. Then the evaluations became more about your training and what you were supposed to be doing and are you doing it. So I don't know the forms and how much they changed, but I just felt that way as a player. And that could have been also part of the role I was in on the team. You're a starting goalie, and then in that second era where I'm fighting for a spot. So you just feel different too. So that could have been just a construct in my mind, or maybe that's just the way it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a clear memory actually from my experience here in sort of 4, 5, 6, sort of on that vein.
But we didn't do them very often, did we, Tim? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Like I don't really recall it being any kind of a regular thing. Sort of, end of the year. Yes, I know the one thing that struck me when I first started working, and I guess it was in the centralized year in particular, that Mel was quite sort of protective or hyper about sort of sharing our thoughts about how Sammy you were doing. She's like, "Oh, well, the girls can't handle that mentally," and I'm like, "But Mel, like, they want to know that, and they need to know that. And if we're all thinking, geez, Sammy is struggling, or Sammy is doing really well, the same thing. I think they want to know that, and we need to know that. And if it's a tough message and they can't handle it, well, that's good for us to know. Like if they can't handle,
it's good to know where the athlete is starting from.
Yeah.
Like if you're coming in feeling that way and that your coach is feeling the same way and you can have those conversations, I think those are important conversations to have. Mm-hmm. And maybe because it was so prevalent under Sauvageau, more so, I would say. But we're also in our infancy as a program as well. So I think the feedback was used to change things in the beginning, by the time Mel came around, it was things were more standardized. We had more things in place, I would say.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I remember is the whole Angela James thing, lawsuit controversy, that colored a lot.
For sure. And the Nancy Drolet too. I would say those two controversies really made record keeping either essential or also maybe we don't want as much information as is out there, right?
Yeah, I think both those things, like just sort of, we got to be careful what we say and do, but we got to document everything, and
and that's probably no different than any other organization when you start in your infancy and you're just flying along and everybody's having a good time and you're working together, and then things like that happen. It definitely jades coaches, I would say. Yeah, so I'm sure that within the program that happened as well. Wally, I think, has a question.
Yeah, you mentioned Nancy Drolet, and in 2002, I was the one tasked with preparing the case, and it actually was a case. Lawyers present, um, ourselves getting to speak as a staff about her situation, and trying to rationalize and justify that decision. It was an 8-hour proceeding, very challenging. I wasn't uncomfortable with it because uh, she had her points of view and her concerns, and we had a chance to explain the decision and how we made it from our point of view. And I didn't leave there feeling any worse, except it's the part of what you have to go through. And I sort of live with that, and I think it's going to happen regardless. Those kind of things are going to be the case. And I just like would make one comment. I assumed my role at the time after 2002 with the branches and with the players who are on the carded list or going to NCAA and not on the teams yet. I had them do self-evaluations of their weekend performances and mail them to me. And I asked them to celebrate the good things they did. I did it in a way of their development and their continued, hey, somebody's paying attention to me. They care out there for the sake of the national team. And so I sort of looked at that role and the self-evaluation piece being a very important one, not only for players, but also for coaches. It's the same thing. And I think whether you're evaluating coaches in minor hockey or mentoring them, I think the idea of self-awareness is really what we're talking about. So good topic, really good topic. Anybody else have anything to add on that? Rick, you're starting a new gig out in Strathmore, and